What is up? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Back here with some more Resident Evil gameplay for you. And today I'm going to have a further follow-up video on something I briefly mentioned in my video yesterday, talking about the Nintendo Direct ResidentEvilRequiem trailer. There wasn't much to discuss, but there were a few little tidbits. Obviously we saw a new area. We saw Leon basically outside a blaze of fire, basically providing sniper support for Grace, who's hard to see, but she is in the distant background. But the big thing that I mentioned was the fact that Leon was basically talking about how there was 6 Raccoon City survivors that all died the same way. And that was the connection to them, that they were all people who survived the Raccoon City incident. And they all were basically killed off. So it's led to a lot of speculation to what director Nakanishi was talking about, the Umbrella Curse, which could be tied into that. So I want to further elaborate and talk about that. So first, I want to talk about the people that are all dead, the 6 people that survived Raccoon City and they all died. Basically, I want to talk about who they could possibly be, because I've seen a lot of speculation of could they be possibly the OG main characters like, Claire, Ada, Sherry, stuff like that. Or could they possibly be the Outbreak characters and things like that? Or could it possibly be just other people that weren't characters that we really played as or don't have names, and they're just kind of this like unnamed people that just have the combination of they survived Raccoon City? And honestly, I'm kind of going with the latter here. Maybe they might have an Outbreak character or two involved in that. But to me, I just go about it like this. What is the point of having Outbreak characters brought back just to have them killed off, basically off screen or before the game even takes place? I've heard people speculate, well, maybe when they have the time, swaps when they go back, because they have confirmed that there will be 2 different time periods when you're playing this game, especially from the Leon perspective, as well as a little bit of Grace. But the point is that maybe that's when they show when they're all dead. But the thing is that these murders they're talking about, it seems like they've happened like over the span of the last, little while, under the time frame. But I just feel like, to me, it's more recent than in the past that they're talking about. But who knows? I could be wrong. But let's just say, for argument's sake, that it does happen in the past and there are familiarities with them and similarities with them. I'm just sitting there thinking, why have named characters die like that? I don't think anyone wants to see characters with names brought back just to be dead in flashback sequences or even possibly died off screen. To me, that's just kind of tasteful. Now, I know a lot of people haven't played the Outbreak games and don't have the connection to a lot of those characters, but still, I just think that'd be tasteless. Maybe they do it. Maybe they might have one of the characters, possibly an Outbreak character, and they go kind of in depth with what ultimately felled him and stuff. But to me, I just feel like a lot of them, if not all of them, are going to be no-name characters and stuff. Because I feel like if you're going to do anyone in, you at least got to show that and have it, shown pretty in depth, so at least we get the impact of it. Because just killing them off screen or just in a short flashback scenario would just be kind of tasteless, in my opinion. But now I get to my next thing. Is that all of these 6 people that were killed, they all have in common that they're Raccoon City survivors, and they all died from the same thing. Which leads me to ask the question, why is it that Raccoon City survivors specifically are being targeted? Now, also, when they say they're dead from the same thing, we assume it's some type of infection. But why are they dying now? Like, what's making now specifically the time point? Is this something that is just laying dormant inside their bodies and now it's just, come to life? Or is it something that was activated by maybe a catalyst or something that whatever forces or evil, obviously we only know about Gideon, but whatever Umbrella related things are happening, is it something that like something came into effect with them, or someone did some type of experiment with them and this is just the aftermath? Like, we don't know. But I guess my big thing is, like, why now? Why is it happening now at this point? And how does that ultimately lead to the return to Raccoon City? And also, is it just specifically people who survive Raccoon City, or is it maybe just people involved with Umbrella? Like, we don't know. We can only speculate. But it leads me to believe that obviously a lot of people speculate that this is something that Leon also has, obviously, with that thing on his neck that doesn't look too well. Is that the same thing? Could it be whatever Elpis is? There's a lot of things we can speculate and talk about. And ultimately, what is it that either Gideon or whoever else is behind the scenes is hoping to get out of this? Like, what is the main thing they want that involves Raccoon City people? Because in a small sequence, we do see Gideon, like when Grace and Leon first meet each other and he separates them, and we see that he's hovering around in the dark. Is this kind of like them running an active experiment that they're all, maybe the Raccoon City survivors are all kind of test subjects and they're testing to see how to react, how they differ depending on the situation? It could be, because obviously Gideon has a little knowledge of a lot of people, including Leon, so maybe it's not that far-fetched to think that this is all kind of like a whole big, massive experience, and depending on the individual and depending on the circumstance and the catalyst involved in these experiments, they're maybe testing to see how things work out. So when you think about it that way, that would kind of have to involve everybody by association, just because if you were in Raccoon City or just affected by it, you know, whatever it is that's going around that's infecting everybody, I mean, that kind of has to tie in everybody, because I don't see how they wouldn't be there personally if this was going on, or at least have a mention about them, because I mean, if they're getting infected and it's getting worse for whatever reasons, you know, it'd just be kind of weird to be like, yeah, you know, some people that were part of the incident are infected, but they're just going to sit there and take it. No. Now, what that ultimately means, I have no idea. You know, is that going to mean we're going to see a lot more people, or are they just going to be briefly mentioned? Only time will tell, but I know a lot of people are going to look at this and think, man, this has to involve everybody, and you would think that, but ultimately I don't also want it to be, I don't know, a Avengers Endgame moment where every single solitary person is there too, because then it'd just be too many cooks in the kitchen. But it's definitely going to be interesting, and I guess what I'm more interested in is just whatever is ultimately causing this and whoever is behind the scenes, because I think we can all guess that Gideon is probably not going to be the main villain. He's kind of, I guess, the sub-boss where you get to the main boss. But what is it that they're ultimately trying to achieve? Is this, and ultimately, how does it also involve Grace? Because Grace is the key, as we've learned through other trailers, and how this all ties into going back to Raccoon City. And the good thing is that we don't have to wait too long. We only have, 3 weeks by the time I'm recording this video, and we're going to be playing some ResidentEvil, the next mainline entry in terms of Resident Evil. But I do want to warn people, because unfortunately, as I've seen, there are a lot of people here that, unfortunately, in this community want to reveal stuff, they want to leak stuff, they get early copies of the game and ruin it for everyone else. So be mindful, and don't be discourteous to other people who want to experience the game for the first time going into it. But as I always like to say, that is my opinion. I want to hear your guys' opinion. Who do you think these 6 people that survived Raccoon City that are dying the same way are? Do you think they're just random people? Do you think they're the Outbreak characters? Do you think they're the OG characters? Do you think they're a combination of all down below? And ultimately, why do you think they're dying and being infected now? Is it, you think it's just whatever's in their system is just matured now after all these years? Or do you think there's a catalyst that sped up them being affected at this point in time? Let me know down in the comment section down below. And ultimately, what do you think they're trying to ultimately achieve? But that is going to be it. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and hopefully I can see you guys back in the next one. Thanks, and I'll see you all later. Peace.